Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to this week's question. It comes from Bonnie, and she writes, my daughter is 32 months old and has been in a toddler bed for several months now. Before we switched her to a bed, I had to rub her back until she fell asleep. Otherwise, she'd crawl out of her crib and come to our room. I am still having to sit next to her bed and rub her back until she falls asleep, and this can be anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. We do read books with a lamp on for a few minutes before we turn out the light. How can I turn off the lamp and walk out without her chasing after me? Okay, so you can see, Bonnie, how back rubbing has become your daughter's sleep prop. And sleep props come in all different shapes and sizes. They can be a bottle, they can be a breast, they can be a pacifier, they can be back rubbing. I even had one client whose son used to play with a mole on her neck until he fell asleep. So really anything can become a sleep prop. And all a prop is just things we tell ourselves we need in order to get to sleep. So, even adults have sleep props. I've had clients tell me that they can't sleep unless a fan is going, or they can't sleep unless they are wearing socks, or the window's open just so. And it's not that you can't sleep without these things. You can. It's just that you tell yourself you can't. And so the idea of trying is so anxiety causing that you just hardly ever bother. So the same is true for children. And for your daughter, the back rubbing has become the prop. And so she's sort of telling herself, well, I can't sleep unless mommy rubs my back. And this is a great time, Bonnie, to break that connection and encourage her to find ways that are within her own person to get to sleep. And I call that internalized sleep strategies. So they're strategies that I use just by myself. Nobody has to do anything for me. It's what I do to get myself to sleep at night. So I would introduce some sort of an object that she might form a bit of an attachment to, and maybe it's you go pick a new stuffed toy that becomes her bedtime buddy, or a special blanket can become the object. And you don't force the issue. I mean, right now she hasn't needed one because she has you and the back rubbing. But now that you're going to be stopping that, you might find that she replaces it with something else, which is fine. So I would do your routine just like you normally do, but when you get to the part where you turn off the lights and you rub her back, I want you to sit where you normally sit, but I do not want you to rub her back anymore. If you want to ease that a little bit, you could intermittently rub her back for the first 3 nights. So you would do a back rub and then you would stop for a couple of minutes, and then you would do a back rub and stop for a couple of minutes. And I'm sure that she's going to notice, and I'm sure she's probably going to motion that you rub her, or say something that indicates that she wants you to rub her. And you're just going to keep repeating that it's sleepy time now. I don't want you to make a big deal about the fact that you're not going to rub her back anymore, but I really want you to stop lulling her to sleep with your rubbing. Okay, so for 3 days, that's what you do. Then on night 4, I want you to move away. So back your chair up about 5 feet. Now there's no more touching. And you will stay until she's asleep, but you're no longer going to be involved in any kind of touch. Which again is most likely going to be met with a bit of protest on her part, but I want you to just remain firm and keep repeating your key phrase that it's sleepy time until she goes to sleep without the rubbing. So then you would spend the next 2 nights in the middle of the room, and then you're going to move to the door and stay by the door for 3 more nights, and then you're going to make your exit. And by then, she's had several nights of practicing how to do this without your help. It should be a relatively smooth transition when you actually leave the room altogether. And if there's any night wakings, you would handle them the same way. You'd go back to your chair. You would say your key phrase, but you would do very minimal to no rubbing. And you would just encourage her to experiment with some ways that are all her own and don't involve you in any way, okay? Which is really a great skill for her to learn. And it'll be something that grows and carries on with her throughout her whole childhood. I mean, you never know. If you don't stop now, she could become a 4-year-old who still needs back rubbing, a 5-year-old who still needs back rubbing, and then it can start to interfere in other things like having a sleepover or going to a friend's house for the night. It can be anxiety causing to think, oh, I can't do that because my mom won't be there to rub my back. So it is a good step to take now. And you can also share this journey with your husband if you've got his help and support. There's no reason why he can't spend a night in there and then the next night's your turn, and so on and so on. That, she might have a preference for one over the other, but again, you've really got to make this a parent guided activity, and you make the rules. So introduce your husband into all of this as well. So thanks a lot for your question, Bonnie, and sleep well.